BBC Radio Teesside. It's just after 10:20 Thursday morning, and I love stuff like this. I love the fact that there are people out there that are willing to help you. And when you think that you're on your own, there's always somebody there to pull you out the clarts, isn't there? Now, a new publishing house has partnered up with a North East addiction charity. That charity being the wonderful Recovery Connections, and they're launching this publication at the United Nations conference tomorrow in Vienna. Now, the publication from New Central Media will give a voice to people in recovery from addiction and encourage them to write their story in their own words, so it's first-hand experience. Now, some of the proceeds will be paid directly to the authors, including Peter De Silva. Now, Pete, who is now the Teesside University Students in Recovery lead at Recovery Connections, I'd give him a call and have a chat with him, and he shared his journey with me.
I was addicted to drugs for years and went into rehab. Recovery Connections gave me a chance and let me in the rehab in March 2018, and I've never took drugs or drink since. Now I work with them. Now I'm the manager for the alcohol service.
Can you remember that point in your life when you thought, I can't keep on doing this anymore, I needed to make that change?
Oh, massively, yeah. Like, it was horrific, you know, like, and I was hurting myself, I was hurting my family. It was just, you know, it was just dark, and Recovery Connections gave me a chance to get in the rehab. You know, I couldn't believe it. It was like, everyone had booked the hands with me, so it was all I had left. And then once I went in the rehab and I started to learn about addiction and learn about what, like, my traumas and what makes me an addict, then I started to live, and then they guided me and signposted me to go to college, and I ended up going to Teesside Uni and getting a psychology and counselling degree, and I've just never left them, really. Why would I? You know, it's a good book.
When you were going through addiction, were there times when you were sat and thought you were in denial about what was happening to your life? Maybe everything was going down the pan, but you just pied it to one side and go, no, everything will be fine, everything will work out.
Yeah, denial. You know, I thought denial was just never an Egypt, you know.
Love it.
I had to wake up, though. Yeah, I just back heel it like it wasn't really happening, pretend I was all right, look in the mirror and say, yeah, you know, you're all right, Pete, you're looking well. No, and deep down, underneath all of it, I knew it was over. I needed help.
And a lot of those relationships that you probably have burnt on the way through addiction, like burning through paper, do you reconcile yourself with that?
Yeah, and what we've got in this recovery is, like, we have an amends process, so being able and gifted and blessed to go back to, especially my family and people I've hurt, and making an amends for what I've done, you know, like, take some sort of responsibility for what I've done, own it, and try not to say sorry, because that's all I ever used to say, and, you know, and just try not to do it again. And what I try and do today is I try not to live in the past or project into the future. I try and be mindful of the day and the moment and just try and get through the day.
I think that's the key thing, and a really, really important message. You know, you learn from your mistakes, and if you don't make mistakes, you'll never learn.
Yeah.
You've contributed to a book. Now, yeah. I love this idea. Your lived experience is going to help many for years to come. Tell me how you got involved with the book, if you don't mind.
Yeah, it's just another gift. I can't believe it. Like, so a professor got in touch with me and asked me if I would like to take part in writing a book on my prisons and my experience of prison and recovery. He's like a speaker at the UN. And like he's big in the game, and he said, you know, I'm like, and he speaks about addiction and that. He said, but I've got no lived experience, Pete. I've never took drugs. He said, and he liked the idea of people like me talking about what we've been through, and so that's what we did. And I think because I went to uni and I just looked at it like an assignment. If I'm honest, the first thing I said to him, I said, how many words do I have to write? No, because that's what I would do on my assignments, and he said, just, you know, he kept it really nice and simple, and he said, you just write what your story and what you think. He said, we've got like an editing team, and they'll go through all the glamour, and so don't worry about all the spell checks, and it was great. And I also got to bring one of my friends in who was also in recovery with me, and he's done the same thing. He wrote his part, and we bounced off each other, and we helped each other out, and now he said, David Patton, we're going to be a paid published author, which I can't believe.
It is amazing, and it is important, isn't it, that there is this creation of a publishing house, that your experience can be published. People have opinions on what you have gone through in prison and your addiction.
I've just been brutally honest in this book. But what I wrote in the book it's about like, was I even ready? Like, was I in a place in my life? Was I desperate enough to be ready to change? I don't believe I was, if I'm honest. And it was really good for myself as a reflection, to reflect on that sort of stuff and to think back of when I was like in them times and in them prisons and in that solitary confinement and doing what I was doing. And I wasn't really ready, and I wasn't really I wasn't interested in recovery. I was just interested in getting drugs, really. Like, I look back, so I'm 7 years clean this month. The end of this month, I'm 7 years, and I look back on the person I was, and I think, God, Pete, was that really you? And yeah, it was, but it wasn't me. No, like, my mum passed away when I was 11. That was a traumatic event that started a 25-year career in addiction. And I was just masking my feelings and my emotions. I was avoiding reality. I couldn't, in them days, 1993, my mum passed away. I didn't get no counselling. I didn't talk to anyone. The first time I ever spoke to anyone about my mum passing away was in the rehab of Recovery Connections in 2018.
Wow.
So, so I had all kinds of crazy stories that I made up in my head. My mum died because of me, because when I was born, she got ill, and 11 years later she died. I thought all this stuff and just kept hold of that stuff, and that was the stuff I believe I was using on, if I'm honest.
How do we break this cycle of prison and drugs? You've lived it. You've worn the shoes, you've worn the slippers, and there's many people, from politicians to all the way around, have all got an opinion on this. How do you feel about it? How do we get out of that cycle?
I believe, in my humble opinion, the only way out of this is lived experience, So the only reason I can explain is because Recovery Connections were a lived experience organisation. When I went into the rehab, everyone was lived experience. So there were, my coach, like counsellor, was being where I had been, and he was speaking my language, and I thought, wow, if you can do it, maybe there might be hope for me. And that's what I do today. I go into Warmouth Prison, and I go into Kirkleverton Prison, and I talk to the lads, and I get them in rehab, and we give them hope, because they know by how we talk and what we're saying. And some of them have been to prison with them, and it gives them hope. It's powerful. It's a powerful tool.
It's a real story, and it's a tale as old as time. And Peter's now contributed a chapter to the book, and the book's called Recovery Capital Pathways Through Prison. That's Peter's line. He couldn't take it anymore. He wanted change. He got that change with Recovery Connection. Now, coming up, you're going to hear from Aliyah, her story. And also, you're going to hear from Poppy as well, from Recovery Connections, and going to tell us more about the work that they do and how they can just be there waiting for you to give you that help. 20 to 11, Gaz with your BBC Radio Tees. Now, about 10 minutes ago, you heard from Peter. Peter has been in recovery from addiction, and he told us about his story of recovery. And he's now then started from his recovery to start work with the charity that helped him, Recovery Connections. Now, the charity has joined up with a brand new publishing house to make sure that the stories of the people that they work with and help get to tell their stories in their own words. Now, that includes Aliyah. Now, Aliyah came in the studio yesterday, and she told me how she feels about having to write a chapter in a new book released earlier this month.
I feel grateful and privileged to get the opportunity to be able to share my story with other people.
Give us a bit of a backstory, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so my story was just basically how I faced stigma around mental health and addiction when I was in active addiction, and how I got recovery and how I faced them barriers. I was getting support from mental health services, and I sort of had to face a lot of people's opinions and people judging me and things like that, but I overcame all that, and I just wanted to share it to other people to say that there is hope out there, that things do get better. You just need to know where the right support is.
What came first for you? Was it the poor mental health or the drugs?
Yeah, poor mental health.
What was the thing for you that said, I can't do this anymore, I need to change my life? Was there one specific moment?
Yeah, my life became unmanageable. I was powerless over my addiction, and I knew I needed help, so I needed to first admit that I had a problem. I didn't admit that to myself for a long time, and then in the end I did, because I lost everything. I lost connections and friendships with family and friends. I lost a good job that I had. I nearly lost my house. I lost driving for a little while. I couldn't drive due to my medication that I was on, prescribed medication. So yeah, I wanted to change. I wanted to better myself.
Reaching out must have been rock hard, was it?
100%. That was the hardest thing, I think, is actually finally admitting that you needed help.
Is there a sense of shame?
At the time, I had no shame, but I look back now and yeah, I do feel ashamed, but I'm glad that's part of my story because it shaped me who I am now. So everything that I went through, I wouldn't change it. It taught me a lesson, like a life lesson.
How long did it take you to actually seek the help?
It took me 4 years, so I was in addiction for 4 years, and then it was only back in the beginning of 2024 that I completely changed my life around. I found a fellowship and I started doing the 12-step programme. Speaking out to other people that are in addiction and suffer mental health, it helped me a lot.
And now you're in that role. You have walked that mile. You can help the Aliyahs from 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Give them that, hold their hands.
Definitely.
And walk with them. That must give you a great sense of satisfaction.
It does. It gives me a sense of purpose every day. Definitely.
That is beautiful. I hope you're proud of yourself.
I am.
And so you should be.
Thank you.
To be able to write down your innermost dreads and dredging up stuff, how did you find that process?
When I was writing in my chapter, I didn't actually face any barriers because I knew that I could write in my own words. It wasn't going to be changed. It was my words. So it was all real. It was facts and how I really felt. And it was nice to be able to share it and actually offload it to somebody and know that somebody else is listening to you. Like you feel heard for the first time, if that makes sense.
It massive sense, because I think that's the most important thing, isn't it? To feel that you are listened to, and you are that ear, you can give that ear, and there are so many stories about negatives. This is a real positive story, and there must be a million positive stories. We must shoulder some of the burden in the media that we can allow positive stories to influence others, because there's so much negativity. You must have faced negativity through your journey.
Oh, definitely. I faced a lot of stigma. I was called a lot of words, like things like psychopath, Fruit Loop, druggie, but, do you know, it doesn't define who I am. Like, people's words don't hurt me.
Was it frustrating that the Aliyah that we see now was buried away somewhere inside of that Aliyah from 3 or 4 years ago?
Definitely, and that's why I have such a more stronger passion to spread the message to other people that recovery is possible and there is help out there, because for so long I didn't know there was myself.
Poppy Beale from Recovery Connections. We were commissioned by Stockton Borough Council last year, Public Health, and we work with people with multiple disadvantages. So it might not just be substance misuse, it could be offending, it could be homelessness, it can be mental health, it could be domestic abuse survivor or perpetrator. And when we see Aliyah working with the people who we're working with and supporting them, just the feedback we're getting, like the feedback that Aliyah gets in regards to, you know, I feel heard, I feel valued, you know what I'm going through, you've been there, and it's so powerful.
Because the thing is, to see Aliyah now, you wouldn't know.
No.
You should never judge a book by its cover, should you? And I think that's a great metaphor for what we're talking about. Do you think the general public understand addiction?
I still think there's a lot of stigma out there, and you know, we as a charity work to challenge that, to educate people for our recovery ally training, for our naloxone, for our groups. Like, we have a lot of open groups across the region. Our sober socials, we put a lot of events on in the community to really encourage community engagement and to kind of spread the word really and who we are, what we do, but also empower people as well, that there is a positive side, and it's just getting that message across. In Stockton, we have a good partnership working with Stockton Recovery Service, with the local council, with housing, and we've definitely seen some really impactful work working together. Like, we have a really good relationship with Stockton Borough Council Adult Social Care, and I think it's really important to work together as a team, because we all want the same outcome. We all want people to get better, and I think it's important to understand as well that, you know, nobody sits in school and says, right, I want to be addicted to something when I'm older. It's what they've experienced or what's led them to that path. So if we can never give up and provide that ongoing support and empower people for change, then we've done our job.
Is it unpicking that onion, unpeeling it?
It can be, but it's also referring to appropriate agencies that can do that intensive work as well.
And I think, did you feel that, Aliyah, that you think that it's you go see one person, they sort everything out for you? It seems like there's a myriad of different places that you have to go, and that could wear you down.
Definitely, because a lot of people having access to services, that's a major barrier. So with us, everything's like close by with the services. We all work together in a small community, making it a bigger community, spreading the message.
And it's starting small with people as well, baby steps, asking what they want, not making the assumption, letting that person lead their own goals and just, hand-holding them, supporting them, doing whatever they feel comfortable with, but ultimately going at their pace.
When you meet someone for the first time that is on that pathway, how do you approach somebody? Because I can imagine it'd be quite a fragile time where it can either go one or two ways, where they go, "Nickers, I'm never coming back," or they want to walk that path.
Definitely, I've had a lot of my community members that I support actually say to me, "I feel like I can speak to you because you understand me. You're not just working with me and reading from a textbook. It's real life. Like, you've been through it, and you show me that I can come out the other end, that there is hope, and it's possible that I can come out of the other end as well." When speaking with them, I do have a lot of empathy. There's been times I've actually sat, we've laughed together, we've cried together, and it is good, and it's good to get right deep to the bottom of it with people, and because they speak about things that they've never spoke about before. It's nice to build a good therapeutic relationship with your community members so they can feel like they can trust you.
Because you're not preaching at them, are you?
No. You're like, we've been there, we've done that, it's okay, you're going to make a mistake. Everybody's recovery journey is different.
There must be people listening who are functioning, that are crying out inwardly for that help, but are just trundling on like you want to do. What would you say? What message would you give out, Aliyah?
There's help out there. Recovery is possible. You can do it. You just need to find the right support and the right help.
I'd also say for any family members and friends, never give up. Yeah, never give up. Always believe that person and change is possible.
How can people find out about the work you do?
So you can look at us on our website. We've got our head office number, or you can contact us directly for a referral, or just drop in. If you want to drop in for a cuppa and a chat, just drop in. We're here. We're here to listen.
How can people get hold of the book? Is the physical copies? Go on, give it the big sell. It's over to you.
Yeah, so it is on Amazon. It's called Women's Recovery Capital Pathways, and it is for a Kindle copy £4.99, and for a paperback copy it's £9.99.
And if you check us out on Facebook as well, there's also a link that takes you directly to the Amazon page where you can purchase that book.
It's always a pleasure to speak to a published author here on BBC Radio Tees. Look, thank you very much for coming in today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're a star. Keep on shining, will you? Promise me that.
Thank you so much. I will. Thank you.
It was so hard for Aliyah to come and talk, because I could feel, it's something that she's just passionate she wants to do, but I think it is so important that people like Aliyah and also Pete have their words heard, so you can hear, because we judge people. We do, don't we? We judge, we see what we see in the papers and magazines, whatever, or you see people on the street and whatever, and you judge them straight away. You go, well, that. You don't know the context of their lives, and I think we've put a little bit of context there, and you can then have a better understanding of how people get to a situation where addiction grabs hold of them. And I think very eloquent, wonderful human beings, Pete and Aliyah, and Poppy as well, coming in and just talking about the work that Recovery Connections do. Now, Aliyah has contributed to the book called Women's Recovery Capital Pathways, and I think it's launched tomorrow, isn't it? That one's out, but there is a big thing. Recovery Connections are at the United Nations and in Vienna, and they're going to be talking about this, and it's just a wonderful way of people who've gone on that pathway, who are in recovery and have come out the other side, can use their powerful words to influence and help others. And I reiterate again, if you are struggling, I'm not here to tell you what to do, and nor should I be here to tell you what to do. But if you need help, there is help out there. We just want to point out that there is people there. Shine the light. Look over there. There's someone over there. Well, it's up to you. You've got to do it in your time. But there are so many wonderful little things that are on our website. It's bbc.co.uk/action line. There's lots of places where you can go and get their help and just maybe test the water. It's over to you. This is your BBC Radio Tees. We'll help you as much as we can.
Amy Oakton at breakfast.